Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome to another episode of Valhalla Life. My name is Daine Smit. I am the owner at DaineSmit Corrective Training. I have my team with me today. I'd like to just introduce them quickly. Our in-house speakers today, we got Russell from CrossFit Sumba, Shilo from strengthsocietyza. We got James Peters from James Peters Film. And today we have a special guest joining us. It is strength guru, Mr. Rory Scheepers. Guys, how are we all doing today?
Good.
Guys, our first episode just aired a while back, and I thought it was a really great way to kick this series off. Today, we're going to be directing some questions at Rory. We've all kind of put together some questions, and I think I'm going to just start with him today. And yeah, let's just take this away. Let's talk some stuff. Let's have a great time. So, Rory, first question coming at you today. Strength and conditioning has kind of evolved in the last 20 years from, let's say, when you started your career as a strength coach. What I want to know is how important has recovery and prehab protocols become for you and for your members over the strength journey?
Firstly, just to tell you, Daine, I'm loving the beard, and you're really good at this. You're making me feel quite nervous here because you've clearly prepared yourself and you're making this look pretty good. Look, when I started out, there wasn't such a thing for me. You know, there wasn't the information now where you can just go out there and look up exercises and mobility WODs and all these kind of things. So basically it was just trial and error, especially in the beginning. And to be 100% honest with you, my first comp was in 1997. And my first sports massage was in 2006. So I didn't even, to be honest, I didn't even know that you needed to do these things, and I had no idea. So information wasn't, basically we had a few of these bodybuilding magazines and stuff like that, but not information like we do these days. So to answer your question, in the last couple of years, it's made a huge difference. And clearly just learning more about it as I've gone along as well, and then implementing it into a lot of my warm-ups, especially for my online clients. And then myself having all sorts of crazy injuries over the years, I've got no option. I've got to use a lot of prehab exercises and prepare my body for whatever exercise that I'm doing on that day. And it's just become part of my routine,
Brilliant. I think I can also just add on to that a little bit. I mean, I've worked under you for a little bit of Olympic weightlifting over the years. And I know that you definitely have brought in, let's say, the prehab into light. My question, which I want to just quickly shoot at you again, it's regarding a little bit of that prehab / you spoke a little bit about like muscle activations, just to get kind of injuries kind of warmed up, ready to go for the session ahead. And that is recently you've acquired the skill of muscle activation techniques and how you can use these small little tricks to help you in workouts, to help bump maybe some strength numbers up and just to aid in movement. Can you quickly just describe and tell us a little bit about your muscle activation techniques?
Yeah, it's just got a lot to do with the fascia and just releasing the fascia. That's got to do with the muscle group that you training at that time. So whether it's obviously, I spend a lot of time working on breathing techniques and stuff like that, especially diaphragmatic breathing, because it plays such a huge role in, firstly, in flexibility, and then secondly, just in getting your body into the state and ready for training. So we spend a bit of time on just working the fascia around the rib cage and that type of thing. And then depending on what we're doing on that day, then I would work the regions pertaining to that particular workout. So, whether it's glutes and psoas for squats or whatever it might be, So I'm still learning, and I've only been doing it for the last sort of year now, but it's super interesting. And obviously we do tests before and after to make sure that we are getting better activations. And it's a huge learning curve for me, but I'm loving it.
So just a quick one here, just to describe to everyone what exactly it is. Are you finding specific spots on your body, and then are you just kind of palpating that region? Are you doing some trigger point work? What exactly are we doing in these regions that is creating this activation?
Yeah, so you're just releasing the fascia around the tight spots. So whether it's over the rib cage or whichever part you're looking at, you're just basically releasing that tissue and allowing your body to just free up other other issue parts. So let's just say basic one. We want to breathe we want to make sure that we're doing diaphragmatic breathing. So we know that we've got a fascial region that tightens up over the top of your rib cage and up the center of your sternum. So we would work that first, and then do some breathing activations, and then go into it. So yeah, it's soft tissue work, but it's quite aggressive over bony region. So it's got a very strange feel. It's not like a normal massage type feel, but definitely takes some getting used to.
Yes, and I know if we speak about Dr. Kelly Surratt, he focuses a lot on breathing, especially of late. I mean, if you follow him on his sites, his Instagram page, he'll speak a lot about that diaphragmatic breathing. And a lot of the time when we do exercises, we don't even think about the diaphragm. I mean, we get into the gym and a lot of us just want to get in there and squat, deadlift. We want to do the things that look good. But I mean, we totally forget about our breathing. And sometimes it's like someone might pop up the question of, hey, what are we doing to our breathing and to our diaphragm that is going to assist us going forward in progression of, let's say, exercises and whatever we're doing. So yeah, thank you so much. Those were some great answers. I think next up we'll head over to Shilo. Shilo, you want to send a question across there, bud?
Yeah, Rory, how you doing?
Good. Where are you? I haven't seen you. You've been hiding away.
It's because you're still getting used to the technologies. That's why.
Yeah, you're not even joking there.
Just from my side, obviously, you've had a lot of success in the industry. I think both as an athlete and as a coach. Some might say that you're probably the best strength coach in the country. I know that personally, I always sort of look up to or look to for advice. What do you think you're doing or have done that separates you from the sort of, the chasing pack?
Firstly, I like the way you said, some would say. I like that. Some would say that.
I didn't want to be too flattering,
No, look, it's for me, it's pretty simple. It's like this. Firstly, I absolutely love strength training. And I mean, I started training in 1996. And since then, I absolutely love everything about it. And more specific than that is powerlifting and strongman themselves. So that's the first thing. It's not just a job for me, and it's always been a lot more than that, long before it even became a career. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I've been training for 25 years, but not that that means anything. Training for 25 years, being a competitive athlete in both powerlifting and strongman since 1997, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, and actually, learning a lot of the times, learning the hard way. So during my career, I would say probably at the pinnacle of what I was, or where I was in my strongman career, I had some quite traumatic injuries, which I actually had to come back from. And then firstly, learn that often learn what not to do, firstly. And I was forced to learn about recovery and a few things like that. And that's when my learning really started. So realizing that you don't know everything, and just getting into it, like researching a little bit more and coming back from these injuries, learning a little bit about mental resolve, and getting back on the into the competitions and all that. And then on top of that, becoming a full-time strength coach in 2006. So it doesn't sound like a long time ago when I said 2006, but if you work it out, it's been many years. And when I say full-time, there's a lot of coaches around that kind of dabble in coaching and helping people, but they have careers, and whether it's, being an attorney or whatever it might be, they're not full-time in this. So basically we do this all day, every day with many different people, and we learn from each and every one of them. And then I think on top of that, I come from a mechanical engineering background. So I feel like that also has a part where I understand physics, I understand stresses and strains, and how that relates to the human body and different joints, things like that. I'm a glutton for information. So I love researching new articles and journal articles, and just reading everybody's training techniques and who's got the latest, what are the latest exercises that people are doing, and what is what are the champions doing, and you know, all that type of stuff. And then obviously having enough knowledge to know what I can use and what I can't use, because these days that's another problem, is that there's so much information out there. You know, half the time you're not sure what you can and can't use, so you have to have a fair amount of knowledge and a fair amount of time in the game to actually be able to work that out. And then also on top of that, understanding that I don't know everything, and you know, just being okay to learn from each and every person that I come in contact with. You know, it's and again, understanding how you can take that knowledge and how you can apply it. So yeah, if that answers your question, I hope so.
No, 100% it does. The last point you made about learning from other people, I mean, the gentlemen that are sort of on this call, I think we're quite good at bouncing ideas off each other. And it's something that I feel quite strongly about, in the sense that even in 20 years' time, with, you know, having your experience or even the experience of someone like Russell, you still won't know everything, because science is changing and evolving every single day. I just feel that, and I'm being quite sort of broad here, but coaches sometimes, you know, think, well, this is my way, this is the only way, and if you don't like it, you know, leave. And I think that there's a positive and a negative to that. I think you have to know what you want to impart onto that athlete for X, Y, Z. But you also got to say, well, hold on, actually, you know, Shilo, you don't know anything, or Rory, you don't know everything. You know, let's explore this avenue. It might actually work a little bit better. And I think often, you know, I've even found myself sort of thinking back a day or two and going, actually, that's probably wrong. I just think that the more people you speak to and interact with as a coach, especially, or even as a businessman, the more you're going to learn. And then just to follow up to that, like I said, you know, or like you said, been doing this for longer than I've been around. What would you say is the hardest Rory stamp to put on an athlete? Is it like a mental thing, or is it a changing, you know, bad habits over time? What do you think the hardest thing to fix, and I use the word fix loosely, in an athlete is?
I find mental is huge. And I'm just sort of talking about in the last 6 months or so, dealing with a few athletes. Just their mental, the way that they approach weights, and also understanding that the weights you move in the gym are, or in other words, you don't have to move huge weights in the gym and think that that's going to relate directly to what you can do on the platform, especially if we're talking about form and things like that. So just breaking down the mindset that heavier is not always better. And then understanding that the things that you do away from the gym are as important as the things that you do in the gym. How you look at yourself, how you recover from your sessions, your mental approach to what we're going to be doing in the gym. Yeah.
So obviously during this lockdown, I wanted to kind of ask you here, what is your approach to reaching your clients? You know, what are you going about? How are you reaching them during this period?
I'm lucky enough that I've got quite a long list of online clients that I've had for many years. So I'm quite comfortable communicating with them on WhatsApp and over email, and then quite recently, you know, as we're doing here on Zoom. So, you know, I'm quite comfortable doing that. So it's been a little bit of getting used to for me in terms of one-on-one coaching on video. So with my online clients, I send them programs. They send me videos, which I watch when I've got time, and then get back to them on an email. But it's very different than being live with somebody, having to spend the time, place the camera in the right spot so you can see what they're doing. So that's taken a little bit of getting used to for me. And then seeing myself on the screen like we are here is a bit unusual for me. So that in itself has been a bit of getting used to. I didn't realize I was this ugly. So yeah, pretty much, you know, I think the one-on-one thing has been the toughest for me. But yeah, I mean, pretty much in terms of technology, WhatsApp, email, and Zoom. I mean, I'm not a technology guru by any means, but that's pretty much what I've been using up until now.
What about having to compromise? So say now, not everybody might have the kind of equipment that they typically would use when they're going to a gym. Has there been any kind of ways that you had to, at least for your clients, for them to adapt and change to using something completely random?
Yeah, that's been a huge thing. So a lot of my close clients that train in the gym and the guys that were able to and have the space, I was lucky enough to be able to give them equipment that they could use during this lockdown, because we were obviously unsure of how long it would be. So, but then I've got a lot of online clients and some of the guys from the gym that don't have any equipment. And then it's again, just getting around the mindset that bodyweight training, is a thing. And understanding that bodyweight training is not only about endurance and doing crazy amount of reps, and just getting the mindset to understand that you can build size and strength and explosive power through bodyweight training. I think that's been quite a big thing. So I know I could chat a little bit about it, but for me, it was basically, when it comes to training programs and when it comes to improving on yourself, getting stronger and more explosive, it's all about progressive overload. And this whole idea of doing 50 bodyweight squats today and 50 bodyweight squats tomorrow and 100 bodyweight squats on Friday, and that's not what bodyweight training is all about. So, I mean, we think of and this is what I've had to get through on a lot of my clients, is just changing it up and actually teaching them that these things, there's so many different ways that we can do it. So, obviously, tempos, teaching them about training with different tempos, teaching them about pause reps. So, holding a push-up in the lowest position, just hovering off the ground for 10 or 15 seconds, and then progressively overloading them like that, compensatory acceleration training. So meaning that they really control on the way down and then they explode up. And whether that means a box jump or whether that means an explosive push-up or whatever it might be. Increasing range of motion is another way that we could, progressively overload. So yes, we can do push-ups, but we can put a brick on each side and we can extend the range of that push-up. If you're doing half squats, you can squat to full depth and we can extend that range and get more work done. Unilateral training. So, whether it's a pistol squat or whether it's a one-arm push-up, even going so far as to say extending away from your midline. So, we're doing lunges. Yeah, that's great. But now do a lunge holding a water bottle over your head, or holding your arms out in front of you while you're doing the lunge, or, whatever it might be. So you're doing a push-up. Yes, you can put your hands further forward and extend away from your midline. You can make it more difficult. So, and then just understanding that most powerlifters and bodybuilders know very little about bodyweight training, and understanding that sprints and explosive push-ups and plyometrics have a huge value in what we do. And I think that's been quite a challenge, is just getting it across and showing them a few workouts. I also use some blood flow restriction training or occlusion training. So there's all types of things like that. But again, just getting that message across, and then, yeah.
It'd be interesting to know just how many people will continue to carry that forward if it's something that they hadn't been doing in the past, post-lockdown. So, just to follow up, what skill should somebody in the fitness industry develop now for the future, do you think?
For the immediate future, I would say pretty much exactly what I was talking about with the body weight. So I would say, if you think about, let's use a trainer that works at a commercial gym. He's used to getting onto the chest press machine and doing a few reps, and then getting onto the carb raise machine, and the extent of his athletic training might be a step up onto a box or something along those lines. So somebody like that, just actually understanding bodyweight training and just moving away from the idea that the machines and the squat racks and barbells and dumbbells are the only thing that you can use to improve on your athleticism or strength or explosive power. So I think that's quite important. And, as we mentioned a bit earlier, there's so much information out there now. You can really go out there and use the knowledge that you have, decide what you can and can't apply from everything that you're learning, and then put that together for your own programs. And then again, as I mentioned, teach your clients that this is okay, and show them how it can work for them by having measurable training sessions where you can measure the outcome.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, how's it, Ross? Hope you're enjoying so far.
Yeah.
I just maybe change track a little bit. We've spoken a lot about sort of coaching and this and that and the next thing. And from that perspective, I wanted to pick your brain a little bit as an athlete, and with sort of pre-COVID or pre-coronavirus lockdown, whatever. South Africa was experiencing quite a big, I'd say, sort of growth and popularity of strength sports, be that powerlifting, strongman, and you could extend that into sort of the smaller things like Highland Games, or even for general pop like CrossFit and stuff like that, and weightlifting. There's obviously lots of, and like Shilo said earlier, there's lots of variety of coaches out there that are offering any number of things. As both as a coach and an athlete now, what do you think guys are spending a lot of time either doing wrong or not doing, that's either sort of holding them back or fooling themselves as to what they are not achieving, and then maybe not expressing their full potential?
So let's say it like this. The biggest mistakes that I see in terms of watching people, talking about my clients, and obviously just seeing people on social media, because social media these days, you can pretty much watch everybody's training sessions. So I would say pretty much in order of importance, I would say number one would be training too heavy. So when I say training too heavy, basically sacrificing form for weight. And by doing that, a lot of people, they feel some sense of achievement in knowing that they did 5 sets of 5 reps on their bench press at 160 kgs. And I'm just using a random number here. So we did 5 sets of 5 reps on 160 kg bench press. You feel like you achieved something, and that was amazing. Yet your 1 rep max is 185 kgs. So does it make sense to be benching that kind of number for that amount of reps, when out of those 25 reps, you possibly had 12 reps that were great in terms of looking at your form and your position and where you've placed your shoulders? Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense to me. And I feel like it's maybe got something to do with social media and feeling like you have to put these heavy weights out there and showing everybody how strong you are. But to me, I feel like that's super counterproductive, and I see it all the time. And basically, to simplify it even more, let's just say you take your warm-up routine from Daine. You do your prehab and you do some activation exercises so that you get your body ready to do these great squats. You then get going with your squats, and of the reps that well, basically, as you get to your heavy set, your body rounds out and you put yourself in the worst position possible. What you're doing is you're actually teaching your body that when you strain and when you're under that amount of load, that's the position that you should be in. You should be in this shitty rounded out position, because that's what your body does every time when you're training this heavy. So what does your body learn? Your body learns that this is the good, we say good position. So to me, I feel like that's the number one. And if people dial back, and understand that if you're a powerlifter or strongman, what counts is what you do at the competition or on the platform. And these gym lifts where, 60% of the work that you're doing is in a really bad position is not going to help you. So that I would probably put at the top, especially for whatever reason with South African people, the local guys and girls that I see. Second thing would be, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, when I was chatting to Daine, is the recovery. So for whatever reason, people, and I say people, but, I'm going to train. So there's a scenario here. I'm going to train 7 days a week at 100% intensity, and I'm going to sleep 5 hours a night because I'm different to every other human on this earth. And nobody ever thought of this before, but I'm going to be the strongest man in the world. So, and the basic understanding that you can only train as much as you can recover. And the more you train and the less you recover, the more you're building up residual fatigue, and your body's eventually going to break down. And whether you get sick or whether you get injured, It's just a matter of time. So that is probably very closely bordering, you know, number one, number two, they're both very, very close. And I think it's got a lot to do with the South African mentality. We're hardworking people. We understand that, you know, we grind and we get stuck in and we do what needs to be done to earn our month's salary. And we kind of take that with us to the gym, and we feel that we're achieving something because we're working harder than the next guy. But that's not necessarily the case, you know. So definitely, I would say number one, two, training too heavy, and then recovery. After that, possibly warming up or not taking your warm up seriously. So here's another scenario. Your 1 rep max deadlift is 200 kgs. So you put 60 kgs on the bar, you're busy chatting to your mates, you do a few reps. So you decide you're going to do 10 reps. On rep 6, some hot girl walks past and you decide to twist the bar like this and have a look as she's walking past in the gym. You then load another plate on the bar. You've got 100 kgs on the bar. On rep 3 out of 5, your phone rings. So you turn your head to the side like this to have a look at who's phoning you. The next set, you add another plate. Now you're on 140. You're 70% of your max. Now you magically think that your body is going to dial in and it's going to use the correct technique and the correct form to be able to lift that weight, which is now, as we mentioned, 70% of your 1RM. And that I see very much in the gym, where the guys are not paying attention and they're just kind of dabbling along. They're not pulling the bar with any kind of intent, just going through the motions. And then as soon as it gets heavy, they're expecting their body just to snap with a snap of a finger, and their body must just know exactly what to do. So that's another thing. And then another thing, which also seems, I seem to see it a lot more on the bodybuilders, but shoe selection. So guys doing squats and running shoes and all this kind of junk, where they've got these super soft soles, they've taken these shoes, which is made to absorb energy as you're running, you know, so to obviously slow down loads that are coming through your ankles and your knees. Now they're loading their back, where they're essentially, they don't want any energy leaks, but now they've got the softest sole in the world, and they're worried about what their hips and their knees are doing, but they actually can't control anything because their soft shoes that they're standing on has got their ankles dancing around just to keep them stable. So that, and then I think I'd say lastly, but just thinking that you know everything. And I see that all the time, that, you know, you've had one coach and your coach seemed pretty jacked up, and you learned a little bit about nutrition. You've done a little nutrition course, and then that's basically it. That's all there is to learn, and nobody else can teach you anything.
Just want to maybe distill that or think a little bit on that. I've got a couple of questions more. It kind of sounds like there's two things at play, and I know I was very guilty of this at the beginning of my strongman career, and I definitely think it held me back. But it sounds like guys are rushing to compete. I don't want to say before they're ready, but rushing to compete before they are prepared and understanding of the outcome that they should be looking for. Does that resonate
Yes,
at all?
100%. Yeah. Not really understanding what they're doing, and just, you know.
Yeah, I just want to pitch up and give it horns and see what happens, and what will be. And it's a little bit of an arrogance, or I want to say like misplaced bravado about that. And ultimately people end up getting hurt or damaged through that. And then it definitely sounds like and it's difficult because we're sort of age of social media, where you can get free advice from God knows who for nothing everywhere. But like, I mean, you bring up the shoes and you bring up the technique positions and those sorts of things. Like it speaks to people not really taking the time to inform themselves correctly. Is that something a struggle that you've encountered quite a bit?
Yeah, definitely. I think people not informed, but also not knowing that they need to inform themselves, and just assuming that any shoe is fine, and assuming that because I can squat up and down and my knees don't hurt, that's okay. Then my squat form is great. And just understanding that that's a process, and obviously the more weight you move and the stronger you get, the more important it gets to put yourself in good positions to be able to spread load and not injure yourself long term. So, you know, maybe they don't know it right now, or they don't feel they need to know it right now, but they're going to learn as they go along and as they get stronger. And if they actually wanted to achieve something, they would need to know those things that they don't necessarily even think they need to know right now.
So are guys then sort of looking at almost too much of a short-sighted perspective of the sport, where they should, instead of saying, well, I want to start strongman or start powerlifting this year and I want to compete this year, should they be saying, I want to get into strongman, I want to get into powerlifting, what do I need to do in the next 5 years to be ready?
Yes, 100%. But also underestimating the work that everybody else has done to be at the level that they are. And again, it's just really not knowing and just thinking that, well, look, I squatted 100 last week, and a couple of weeks before that, I could only squat 80. So you know what, if I carry on like this, I'm going to be a champion by the end of the year. And just understanding that the stronger you get, the harder it is to take the next step. But you know, it's just a learning curve. And I'll just say, obviously I'm a coach and I'd love everybody to have their own coach, but the whole idea is just to learn from somebody. And whether it's a coach or whether it's just a mentor in the gym that you really look up to, you know, that's great. And then take that information, understanding that, you know, the more you know, the more there is to know. And it's going to continue to be like that for years to come. And yeah, it might sound really simple. Let's just talk about powerlifting. You know, we've got a squat, we've got a bench press, and we've got a deadlift. We get 3 attempts at each one. Wow, that's pretty simple. You know, but yet there's people that I know that have been doing this for 15 years and they actually don't know very much at all, because it is super complex, and the human body itself is super complex, and way more than most people really understand, you know.
Would you be able to give like one, I don't want to call it a top tip because there's no secrets in this game and there's definitely no quick fixes, but would you be able to, if you were to sort of somebody starting out fundamental strength training and squat, bench, deadlift, and sort of is the bread and butter of all of training almost, is that what would you recommend they take home as top priority for those?
Are you talking about somebody that actually wants to compete or somebody that just wants to train and just?
Well, I don't think you can't. I mean, we've just like we've said, we're going to be smart here, so we're going to take our time to get strong, and we're going to learn to do it first. So as I'm starting out and I'm a novice and I don't really know very much and I'm definitely not very strong, what do I need to know about a squat, a bench, and a deadlift if I'm going to do them properly and I'm going to put myself on a path where I can progress? Yeah.
So for me, it would be obviously safety is first, and that's how I look at all of the training when I train people. So firstly, you want to progress. We've got to use the most muscles that we can to do the job. So let's just talk about a squat and a deadlift, right? We don't want to only use your lower back to deadlift. We want to use your hamstrings, your glutes, your lower back together, you know, putting it very, very basically. So it's really a tough one. But, you know, obviously getting somebody that kind of knows what they're doing just to point you in the right direction. Have a look at your mobility. Are you mobile enough through your hips and your ankles to be able to squat? Otherwise, you're going to spend a year squatting before you realize that the dorsiflexion on your ankle is not allowing you to get full depth. And, you know, so something really simple and basic like that. Get somebody to just look over your movement pattern and just give you some pointers. And whether it's just as simple as saying, look, you're mobile enough to get into those positions, go wild. But yeah, I would just say, just remember that it's safety first, and then just take your time and take small jumps. And progressive overload doesn't mean adding 20 kgs to the bar every week. It just means adding a rep or adding, you know, 1 overall rep throughout your working sets, or adding 2 kgs. So yeah, that would be my advice. Find somebody that knows what they're talking about and chat to them, even if it's just for one consult, and then take it from there.
So get yourself properly informed and guided before you sort of start the journey.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It kind of goes with most things though. I mean, you think about it, like, are you just going to, you're 16 years old and you want to start driving, you're not just going to jump in the car and just kind of guess what you're going to do. You know, you've got to be taught about the things that, you know, you want to do, and that should, like you said, that needs to apply to training as well. You can't just jump in there and think, okay, I know what I'm doing here, and I'm just going to slap on these massive weights and think they're going to get off the ground by pure magic. So
yeah, without a doubt. And like you said, talking about driving and whatever, it's like, you know what, I'm going to make my car really fast. Okay, so I'm not a mechanic. I'm going to make my car really fast. What do? Well, I know. I'll just throw everything out of it so it weighs a little bit less. Is that the right route? Or do you go and see somebody who actually knows a little bit about cars and he can tell you what's the right thing to do, you know, pull the fenders off and I'm going to make it look like a space frame, and I'm going to just, this car's going to be faster. But that's not the way to do it. You know, it's obviously you go to the professional, even if it just means you can't afford to do what you need to do right now. You go for a consult, they have a look, give you some insight as to what you should be doing and where you should be going, and then you take it from there.
Awesome. I think yeah. No, I was going to say, I think we've got some quick fire questions before we unfortunately have to cut this one.
yeah, so we got a minute 20 seconds, so if we can make it quick.
Okay, my question, and it comes from Slick Neck. He wants to know who's going to win the boxing match between Eddie and Thor.
You want my honest opinion? Must I hold back? I think that I think they're both going to look like a bunch of fools, to be honest. You know.
Agreed.
I mean, let's look at you know, Conor McGregor. You know, when he got in the ring, did it look amazing? Was it a great fight to watch? No. So now you got a bunch of thugs that weigh 50 kgs or 100 kgs more. They're going to get in the ring. They're going to look like a couple of walruses hitting each other, and it's really not going to be that exciting, you know. So I would say I put my money on Eddie. He's actually a tough guy, and he doesn't have too many excuses, but it's definitely not going to be very exciting.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ross. Yeah.
Right, Rory, I got a question here for you, just coming out from one of the fans, and that is, if you were stuck on a desert island and you could only take one piece of equipment with you to be able to do your training on a daily basis, what would that piece of equipment be?
Sure. For me personally, I would probably say a bar and plates.
Okay, and
it's simple.
Perfect. All right, yeah, flip. I guess that's good enough. Russell, let's get your opinion there.
I think I would go with a dumbbell, if I'm honest. I think nice versatility there, but I do also like bar and plates, but I think I'd probably just take a dumbbell, easier to carry.
Cool. Shilo?
I'm going to go with something different. I'll take my sandwich, just because when I get back to Durban, I would be absolutely unplayable out of the bunkers. I would be
smart. That's very smart. Well done. By the way, he's here all day, folks. He's here all day. All right.
Jamo,
what you got for us?
I don't know. I don't want to say something just to be different, but maybe a kettlebell. I think I'd just go with the kettlebell. It's also, you know, something easy. We can move around with that, and there's a variety of movements I can get out of it as well. So that's my answer.
Cool, kettlebell. I'm going to be way off topic here, and it stands true to what I mean, if you know what I'm like in the gym, I'm always trying to do different things and to be different. And I would actually take the gluteum developer, wedge it in the sand there. I just find the versatility when it comes to both anterior chain, front of the body, posterior chain, back of the body.
Fuck, Daine, that's a big piece of equipment. Oh,
it's a big piece of equipment. And I think, like, just being able to kind of work.
Yeah. Also
yeah.
a 10 out of 10 backed you to have like a little jump stretch band or a fucking hip
that's
bridge
what
or
I
something.
You know what I think? I think Daine needs to take his razor. That's more important than his
Cruise eat your heart out. Well, no, what's it? Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks. He's passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, gents. Well, I think that is a couple questions directed at Rory today. We're gonna wrap this up today. Thank you. Firstly, thanks to all of you for again coming today on Valhalla Life, giving your opinions. To Rory, thanks a lot for joining us today, bud. It's really been awesome having your opinions and just helping people understand what you do and your kind of views just on how strength is governed in your gym and how you kind of go about it every day. So thanks for joining us, guys. Please go ahead onto YouTube, like, subscribe, enjoy the content, and we'll be back again next week for more content on Valhalla Life. Thanks, everyone.